Hello, welcome to the studio. This week I'm letting you into my other studio to show you how I make my collage landscape art, the exact process step by step from start to finish. It's often difficult to see how a mixed media piece is made once it's finished, so this week I'm showing you from preparing the boards to beginning the piece to finishing it off, how I make all my work in progress, and you'll see each step by step. At the end of the video I'm going to show you how I prepare and seal my pieces ready for framing, so do keep watching for that. If you don't know me, I'm Ruth. I'm an artist, printmaker and teacher, and I make videos from my tiny studio in Bristol, UK. I'm helping artists deepen their art practice through hand printing at home. If you like the video, please do subscribe, click like, and you can join my email list as well through the link in the description, and that way you get monthly inspiration and tips straight into your inbox every month. So let's get started. So these are the boards I use. I use wooden boards, plywood generally speaking. I think this is about 6mm. And sometimes I buy it purpose made from Cut My Plastic. Sometimes I buy it from our wood recycling place in Bristol. The other thing I use is cradled boards. So these are pre-made. They've got this cradle on the back here, as you can see. Really useful. They don't warp at all, which is great. Plus, you don't necessarily need to frame them to hang them on the wall. So that's just the front. That's one I've already put on. But it means that you can put fixings on the back and hang it even without a frame. And the other thing I sometimes use are these canvas boards. The great thing is you don't need to prep them. I'm not so keen on the texture though. So those are the three things I tend to use. Now I prepare the board, if it's not already prepared, with gesso. At least 2 layers of gesso. Just to seal the boards, and obviously I do both sides as quickly as I can so it doesn't warp. And then the next stage is adding acrylic paint. So I'm not much of a painter in all honesty, so this really is to get rid of the white of the board, something to work against, to respond to. And sometimes, because I'm using transparent tissue over the top as collage, the colours will show through at least the first couple of layers of tissue. So if I want something really dark, I can add that, or something really bright, I can add that, and that will come through. And sometimes some of the marks still show. I will leave those to show. I tend to use rags rather than paintbrushes, just to literally cover the board, and to get some nice gestural marks as well. So the next stage is collaging on monoprint, and I tend to monoprint tissue paper. I've got drawers full of this stuff, so I kind of put it together as sort of the colours all together. So these are sort of light purples, some dark pieces there. So I will do these separately on purpose. Often in my shed studio at home, but sometimes in the studio, and I've got loads and loads to choose from. So these are dry, and I'll put a link to the video where I make these, and I often will just have a nice play session, playing around, large pieces of tissue, making marks, not thinking too much about what I'm doing, but kind of knowing what colours I'd like to do. So I've got drawers full of those, and they then get collaged onto the boards, and often in quite large pieces to start with, to get a feel for the composition. There's some particularly nice marks that I want to put on the boards, then I can pick those out and put them on. And it's starting to get a feel for what's going to happen in the piece. This one didn't have any acrylic on at all to start with. I just literally stuck some collage on, and you can see immediately it starts to make a picture. I tend to stick on with PVA glue, sometimes watered down a little, or sometimes acrylic medium, although that is a bit more expensive. So those are the two things I use to stick my tissue paper monoprint on. And then the next stage would be adding little elements like photo transfer. That is a photo transfer at the top there. I might add drawing, and I use Posca pens. This orange here is actually a Posca pen. So these are like acrylic paint in pens. Really love them. So you can add drawn elements at this stage, maybe some more little bits of collage, some more detail, some more definition, and sometimes collage then over the top of the drawing as well. So you get some depth and layers. And then towards the end of the piece, I'm looking at adding smaller elements, little areas of focus. I might be adding a bit more collage, some smaller pieces of collage. I might be adding drawn elements like the trees here, or charcoal down at the bottom. In this one, I've printed trees made with leaves onto the board itself. And for instance here I've added some very, very fine pieces of gold paper. And so I can add some very fine details here, just little elements. And again in this one I've added the little tree, which completely changes the composition and the scale actually, right at the end. And these very fine pieces of collage as well, and again the gold paper. So these are the finishing elements of the pieces. I hope that's given you a little insight into how I make my mixed media pieces. I did promise to show you how I prep and seal my pieces ready for framing, so here goes. So first off I need to fix everything that's on there. So I just use some artist fixative, quick spray over to seal the pencil, charcoal, whatever I might have put on as a last thing. And then I will add a layer of acrylic medium, so matte medium, not gloss. And I'm just painting that on as evenly as I can across the whole of the board. And that's just going to seal it a little bit more, and the edges as well. So that's the whole board covered in matte medium. That will become clear, as you can see. And then the last thing is cold wax medium. So you need to let that dry, obviously the matte medium dry, and then cold wax medium, and just gently putting that on with a lint-free cloth all over the piece, not too thickly. And that will take a few hours, if not a day, to dry, but that will be completely sealed. So I hope you enjoyed that little visit to my studio. Do click like or subscribe, or you can join my list at the link in the description below, and that way you get inspiration, tips, and heads up on all my courses and workshops as well as they come out every month.